Hey everyone and welcome. Yesterday at WWDC, Apple announced the new and redesigned MacBook Air. The MacBook Air boasts a new thinner design and comes in 4 shades: silver, starlight, space gray and midnight blue. The new MacBook Air looks similar to the latest 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models. It features a slightly larger 13.6-inch display with up to 500 nits of brightness, a MagSafe for charging, and 2 Thunderbolt ports located on the left side, a headphone jack with 4 speakers supporting spatial audio. The redesign also includes a better 1080p camera compared to the previous generation 720p. However, Apple never claimed that it features center stage, like the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pros. The new MacBook Air is available with an 8-core CPU and up to 10-core GPU. It can also be configured with up to 2TB of SSD storage along with up to 24GB of unified memory. Apple says the new MacBook Air achieves up to 18 hours of battery life, but we'll put that to the test. However, I do believe that it is achievable given the previous models have incredible battery life and holding up to Apple's claims. The new MacBook Air equipped with the M2 chip brings 2 or 3, if you're coming from the base model MacBook Air, more graphics cores compared to the previous generation M1 chips. Apple also claims that the M2 offers faster performance and consumes much less power, hence the greater battery life. All the leakers were correct, and the MacBook Air received a redesign. The new MacBook Air has a flat design and it's just 1.13 cm thick compared to the previous 1.61 cm. Sure, the temper touch was narrower, but overall the design is thinner. Display: at 500 nits of brightness, it is superior to the 2020 MacBook Air's 400 nits, and this brings it into the line of the 13-inch MacBook Pros, but it is still below the 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models. It also lacks the ProMotion technology of those models. Of course, there are deeper and darker blacks, brighter and richer colors, better contrast, and is much more power efficient. Apple's product line manager claims that the notch is a smart way to give you more space for your content, because the menu bar is moving and is no longer taking space. The new display also retains the 16:10 aspect ratio as before. Now let's talk about webcam. It is a 1080p camera and is a major upgrade from the previous generation MacBook Airs, which only feature 720p FaceTime camera. Let's be honest, it's terrible, and with the new improvement we hope for a better resolution and better contrast colors. However, I cannot for the love of God accept this, that companies are putting better cameras in the phones and not laptops. Apple didn't mention that it would feature a center stage like on the iMac and the MacBook Pro models. However, I guess we'll wait and see. The new MacBook Air will use an M2 chip, which brings 2 more graphic cores compared to the limits of the M1. Apple also claims that the M2 doesn't just offer faster performance, it does so while using less power, which should be a benefit for battery life. The M2 offers 8-core CPU and 10-core GPU. Now let's talk about the RAM. Memory support is improved on the 2022 MacBook Air, and it will support up to 24GB of memory. However, for a normie like me, the 8GB is just enough for everyday tasks. Ports. The Grand Star, it's making a return, and this year MacBook Air brings back MagSafe. The 2022 offers 2 Thunderbolt/USB 4 ports. Unfortunately, there is no SD card slot or HDMI, which is really a shame. The addition of the HDMI port would have allowed users to plug in more screens than is currently possible with the MacBook Air. I also wish that Apple could have included an SD card slot. There is space, and cannot think of a single reason not to include them. Conclusion. Don't get me wrong here. The new MacBook Air looks great. However, if you're a student who uses their machines just for taking notes, watching videos, listening to music, and doing basic productivity tasks, the old M1 model is powerful and cool enough that you don't really need to spend the extra $200 for the new model. In fact, I've recently bought this M1 MacBook Air base model for work, and I don't see a reason to upgrade just yet. If you are like me, then I'd suggest to skip on the M2 MacBook Air and stick with your good old M1 machine.